How's it going, everyone? Phoenix Rapunzel here, and welcome back to another Infinite Magicraid video. Today, I want to talk about the Hero Rate Up event that is coming this weekend, and talk about the heroes that will be featured in it, and which ones to consider going for, which ones to hope you don't get, things like that. So let's jump right in. So they have released this for everyone, so you guys have probably seen it when you've logged in. Specified hero type rate up. The rate up faction of the session is Eternal SECT. The up heroes of the session are a Legend, Quinlan, Esindo, Tough, Mamek, and Dario. For epics, we have Besedin or Beshedin, Holder, Winix, and Maguire. So let's go in and let's take a look at these heroes and talk about them a little bit. Okay, so here we are in the Eternal SECT. We're going to go ahead and start with Quinlan. Quinlan is an HP burn hero. So if you're building an HP burn team and you don't already have Quinlan, highly recommend that you look into trying to go for him. So his first skill, he has freeze. The first stage of his double hitter for his basic skill, the first hit has a chance to place freeze. It's only a 15% chance. But the second one is a 40% chance to inflict HP burn. And then the chance goes up for HP burn all the way to 80%. So pretty solid on that basic attack there. So his first active skill, we have deducts 25% of max hit points from self. Afterwards, he does 2 stages of attack, so double hitter, to a single enemy, each of which deals damage by 6% of his max hit points and extra damage by 6% of the target's max hit points. Each stage's damage caps at 24% of his max hit points. So you want to go for a lot of HP in his build, as well as effect hit, because he has the chance to place freeze, he has the chance to place HP burn. His exclusive, we got a 50% chance to inflict freeze on the target for 1 turn after this deals damage. It increases to 80% if they're already under HP burn. So if you pair him with another HP burner, then his chance of freezing really increases, and he can be a really good control hero to have, as well as that HP burn. So going on to his passive, we have a 100% chance to inflict HP burn on enemy targets whose speed are not lower than self for 2 turns at the beginning of each wave. So you do not want to build him with speed. You want him to be slower so that he can place that HP burn on at the beginning of each wave. He deals 18% more HP burn damage to targets under freeze, which is why having those 2 skills work in tandem with his kit is so good, because he deals more damage to those under freeze. Exclusive, he increases turn meter by 10% for every enemy target whose speed is higher than him at the beginning of each wave. So if you have, if you're going against people in the arena and they're all faster than him, he'd be really good for like a go second team, where he just boosts his turn meter by 50% for each of those people on the other team. And his ultimate skill, we have a triple hitter to all enemies, each of which deals damage by 2% of his max hit points and extra damage by 2% of the target's max hit points. So this is really similar to his first active skill. The stage's damage caps at 8% of his max hit points, and it's considered HP burn damage. Afterwards, there's a chance to inflict freeze on enemies under HP burn. So 70% chance for that, 70% chance to inflict a layer of HP burn on enemies not under HP burn for 2 turns. And then exclusive, first stage has a 100% chance to inflict a layer of HP burn on enemies whose speed are not lower than self, or basically heroes who are faster, for 2 turns, and a 60% chance to inflict HP burn for enemies whose speed are lower. So 100% for those who are faster, 60% for those who are slower. So overall, really solid hero here. I would suggest if you are going for any of these heroes, Quinlan would be on that list, especially if you are building an HP burn team. Okay, so the next one is Esindo. Esindo is a turn meter and control master. She is highly desired by several players. So let's take a look at her kit. Let's see what she does. 200% attack damage to a single enemy, 40% chance to inflict silence for 1 turn. So silence means they can only use their basic attack. They can't use their active skills at all. Reduces the turn meter by 15% if the target is already in silence status. So this is where that control kind of comes in, where they can't use any of their other skills. They can only use their basic attack. 300% attack damage to a single enemy, puts on silence for 1 turn. Notice there is no percentage there. That means that she instantly does it. So this doesn't mean that you necessarily need to build her with effect hit. You can if you're looking at her first skill and you want her to consistently be putting on silence on people. You can build her with that effect hit, but it is not needed for her first active skill here. Exclusive level 2 steals the target's turn meter by 20% or all turn meter if their turn meter is below 20%. So again, she's stealing that turn meter. She's controlling that other team so that they don't take turns or they can't use their skills. Here's her passive. Increases her turn meter by 5%, restores her hit points by 1.2% of max hit points whenever an enemy target is inflicted with a control effect. So if you pair her with other heroes that do control effects, like if you put her with Ulcaster for the freeze, if you put her with Sinton for the provokes, then she's basically constantly healing herself and also increasing her turn meter so that she can take more turns. And then her exclusive level 1 is very interesting because it's basically a space ability where she increases her self turn meter by 30% at the beginning of each wave. That almost, well, depending on how fast she is, it almost guarantees that she is going to go first, and then she can land those control debuffs and your team can take control of the fight. And then if the target's already has been under silence status when she inflicts silence on them, then silence changes to freeze for 1 turn, which again procs her healing and her turn meter. And then her ultimate skill, 200% attack damage to all enemies, 60% chance, which goes up to 75%, to inflict silence on them for 1 turn, reduces their turn meters by 10%, and she gets 1 more turn. And that goes down to a 4-turn cooldown, which basically is like a 3-turn cooldown. Again, she's so good if you're looking for control. So again, another one that I would highly recommend that you consider pulling for. Okay, so the third hero is Turf. A little bit of a misspelling in the announcement for the raid up. So this is Turf. He does poison, he does counterattack. Let's take a look at his kit and talk about him. So double hitter, 100% attack damage each, single enemy, 30% chance to inflict poison. So he's a poisoner, and that can go up to 40% for that. Grants self a shield by 25% of max hit points and counterattack for 2 turns. So if you have his effect hit up, then he can be landing poisons every single time he's hit. And then he can increase his shield by 60%. So that would go up to, that would be a really big shield. 85% of max hit points. That's awesome. So that exclusive level 1 is definitely going to help with his durability and staying alive in battles. So then passive increases the direct damage dealt by Turf by 30% to any target under poison status. 30% chance to inflict a layer of poison when he takes direct damage. So he's not only dealing extra damage with the poison, but also when he's attacked and that's paired with his counterattack, then he's basically landing poisons all day long. And he can also get leech if you up his exclusive enough. So again, he's keeping that durability up with his shield, with the healing, and then he's landing poisons on everyone else. And then his final skill, or his ultimate skill here, we got deep poisoning, which increases the amount of poison damage taken, which adds to, the direct damage that he deals to any target under poison. 3 stages of 160% attack damage each to a single enemy, 50% chance to inflict a layer of poison. So he's got poison all over the place. He's got, again, that counterattack. He does do basically only single targets, but again, if you up his HP so that he can put that shield on and basically be really tanky, but also up his effect hit and his mastery so that he can land those poisons and deal even more damage to enemies. Really, really solid there. So if you have a poison team, see if you can pull for turf. If you don't have a poison team, but you want to build one, again, you can still pull for him. It just depends on what you want. Okay, number 4 is Mamek. Mamek is new-ish to the game, I think. He was part of a recent... I thought he was part of a recent rate up event. And from what I understand, his kit's not necessarily the best. But let's take a look and let's see what you think. 2 stages of 140% defense damage. Important to note that is defense. First stage has 50% chance to reduce the target's attack by 40%, so the higher version of attack. And the second stage has a chance to inflict Horrify. Horrify meaning they have a chance to basically skip a turn, which is another control debuff there. His first active skill, he grants self-taunt and immortal for 2 turns, then increases all allies' speed by 40% for 2 turns. So taunt basically means, and this is all in Chinese, but taunt basically means that when the enemy attacks, they have to target him. So he kind of like takes all of the attacks on himself and is like, you know, nah, 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 come get me. And then he gains 1 layer of engulfing power for every 5% of max hit points lost after casting this, up to 12 layers. He consumes all the engulfing power at the end of his second turn after casting this and restores hit points for all allies by 2% of his max hit points for each layer consumed, or immediately consumes all the granted engulfing power to restore hit points for allies if Mamek dies before this effect is triggered. So he can restore, at the end of his second turn after casting this, he restores HP for up to 24% for each layer consumed, or up to 24% total. If he has those 12 layers of engulfing power on, then that'll be a 24% heal, which is, that's not terrible. It's at least, it's something that maybe could benefit your team if you're like at the very last stage of something and you just need just a little bit more health, and then he can trigger that. But it's nothing to really take much note of. So passive. He's immune to freeze, stun, and hypnotize. He grants an ally a shield by 20% of max hit points for 2 turns if the ally takes single skill damage that is above 20% of max hit points, or is inflicted with any freeze, stun, or hypnotize. And that's a cooldown of 2 turns for each ally. So basically, if they take damage that is above 20% of their max hit points, then he puts a shield on them to kind of like balance out that. Additional 35% healing effect if you up his exclusive. And then he grants self an extra max HP cap by 30% of his self-healing effect at the beginning of the battle. And then his final skill here, his ultimate skill, steals all buffs except attribute buffs from all enemies, deals 200% defense damage to all enemies, extends the duration of all buffs on self by 1 turn. So, I mean, he steals all the buffs. He basically takes he takes like any heals, any taunts. Like if there's taunt out there, then he's going to steal it. If there's immortal out there, he's going to steal it. Anything except for like increase attack, increase defense, increase speed. And then he basically extends those duration by 1. If he were to pull it or like steal it from all enemies and then distribute it like among your team, I feel like it would be a much better skill. But that's also just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And then whenever it steals one buff from enemy, he absorbs 5% of their max hit points, or restores hit points for all allies if his HP percent is 100% when absorbing. So personally, I would say probably don't go after Mamek, but if you pull him, maybe he'll be really good for your account. It just depends on who you have and what you're looking for. Okay, and the last legend is Dario. First off, he looks pretty cool. He's like basically like an undead magician. I probably wouldn't want to wear the hat. Just saying. So his basic attack, we have 280% attack damage to a single enemy, gains a layer of Shadow Flame. Second skill, 500% attack damage to a single enemy, 2 layers of Shadow Flame. His passive, he gains a layer of Shadow Flame at the beginning of each wave. Every time a unit dies, gains a layer of Shadow Flame, and when gaining 6 layers of Shadow Flame, releases Disrupting Ray, which I believe is his final. Yep. So his ultimate skill is when he gets to 6 layers of this Shadow Flame, which every single one of his abilities adds those on. Then we have 300% attack damage to the enemy with the lowest hit points. If it successfully kills the target, gains 2 layers of Shadow Flame. This ignores defense but cannot land a crit. So you do not want to build him for crit, but you do want to build him for attack if you get him. And then all of his exclusives land right here, with gaining 3 layers of Shadow Flame when Disrupting Ray kills the target. Disrupting Ray has 20% more leech, and then attacks 1 more enemy and slashes the target whose hit points is below 10%. Slashes meaning they basically instantly die. So kind of cool single target nuker. If you're looking for that kind of stuff, then you can look at going for Dario. Me personally, it depends on the account. If you're building for just straight damage, then maybe Dario would be good. If you're looking for damage over time debuff landers, Dario would not be the one to go for. Okay, so that is all the legend heroes. Let's take a look at the epics. So the first one we have on the list is Besedin or Bishedin. Still don't know how to say his name right, so let me know. 160% attack damage to a single enemy with a 30% chance to inflict inferior severe wound for 2 turns, so reduces their healing. Selects an ally to remove all their buffs and cleanse their debuffs, increases 40% attack, 50% crit rate, 60% crit damage, and reduces 60% defense for them for 1 turn. And then if you up his exclusive enough, then they act for 1 turn immediately. So he kind of builds someone up to be like a glass cannon, where all of their other buffs and their debuffs are cleaned off. They get that attack up, they get that crit rate up, they get that crit damage up. And then if you up his exclusive enough, then they go. The cool thing about it is that if you up his exclusive enough, then they go, and all of those buffs are instantly taken away. So then it's just like a reset. Increases the damage. This is his passive skill, by the way. Increases the damage dealt by Besedin or Bishedin by 12% when an enemy is killed. Increases his turn meter when an ally is killed. An exclusive 100% attack damage to all enemies if he survives whenever an ally dies. So he could be like a sneaky damage dealer there. And then finally, 330% attack damage to an enemy and another 2 random enemies. 30% chance to reduce their attack by 20%, so the weaker version of attack down 1. And then a 30% chance to land effect res down 1. And then it can double the chance of the Twisted Void, which is basically just getting these up to 60% chance to land both of those. So overall, really good support as far as if you want to just have someone on your team, like try to take out the rest of the enemy team with that second skill right here. Overall, not too bad. Not too bad. So he would be one to look out for. Let's see. Our next one is Holder. Holder is known for his bleed and counter attack. So his first skill, he puts on bleed, 20% chance, but it's a double hitter. So again, he has 20% chance for each of those hits to land that bleed. Second skill, 2 stages of 50% attack damage to all enemies with 20% chance to inflict bleed. And then he deals 24% more direct damage to any target under bleed. And then increases his attack by 20% for 2 turns, grants himself counterattack for 3 turns, and then he gets 1 more turn. So really solid for if you're looking to build a bleed team. The thing about Holder is that he is used a lot in like the beginning of the game when you're first getting started. He is a really good carry for your team, but he kind of falls off when you start getting better people and better heroes. So if you're like beginning game and you're looking to build a bleed team, then Holder would be one to look out for. If not, then you could probably use him to feed another hero that you get. Okay, almost there. We just need to talk about 2 here. We've got Winix. Winix is one of the few revival heroes in the game. His basic attack has a chance to land Horrify for 1 turn, 160% attack damage. His second skill, he increases all allies' turn meter by 20%. And if you have his exclusive, he's not only boosting turn meters, but he's also healing. And he's putting stealth on those heroes that need it. He grants self-consolidation, which reduces the damage taken for 2 turns whenever an ally dies, and he heals himself whenever an ally is revived. And that plays very nicely with his ultimate, which is when he revives a selected ally with 20% of their hit points if they die, allowing the ally to act immediately, and then resets the cooldowns of all of their skills. So he brings them back up, they go, and all of their skills are already up and ready to go. The revived ally dies immediately after acting. So he pops them up, they go, and then they go back down. Increases the attack of the selected target by 40% for 2 turns, and grants them damage immunity for 1 turn if they are not dead. The cooldown of this skill cannot be reduced or increased by other effects. So he puts on that damage immunity if they're not dead. I'm trying to make sure I understand that right. So increases the attack of the target. Oh, okay. To use this, you can target either a dead ally or an ally who is alive. And if they are alive, then they get the attack up to and the damage immunity. If they were dead, then they are revived. They get that cooldown reset, and then they die again. A little bit confusing. And then his exclusive, targets revived by Call of the Underworld have a 20% chance to not die after acting. This effect triggers every time after the target acts until the target or Winix dies. So basically they could stay alive for like maybe 1 or 2 turns. There's kind of like a chance. There's a chance aspect in there. So they could survive, or they could just they could survive for like 5 turns and then die, or they could survive for 2 turns and then die. If I'm understanding that right. Let me know if you have used Winix and if that's how his skill works. And then if there's a dead ally, he additionally casts Call of the Underworld on the ally when he acts. This skill only takes effect 1 time in each wave. Okay, so he basically can cast this skill as well as doing something else. If there's a dead ally, if you up his exclusive. I would say not the strongest reviver just because of the weird mechanic with it. Yeah, I think I'm kind of underwhelmed by Winix. I mean, he looks cool. He looks like an undead waiter, or just a creepy waiter in general. So, I mean, if you want to mess around with that revival mechanic, then you could consider going for Winix. Personally, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's up to you and your account. And the last one is Maguire. Maguire's got a huge mace and a somewhat big shield. So let's see what he does. We've got 160% defense damage, single enemy, 30% chance to put on defense down 1. It grants all allies a shield by 16% of his max hit points for 2 turns. So he's another shield hero. 30% chance to inflict severe wound on the attacker if he has a shield when taking direct damage. And then if you up his exclusive, then he gets 15% more damage reflect when he has a shield, 20% more shield effect, and he doubles the chance to inflict that severe wound. And then finally, he gains a shield by 20% of his max hit points for 2 turns, 60% chance to inflict provoke on a target, then deals 100% defense damage to the target with a 60% chance to inflict severe wound. So he's got a little bit of control. He's mostly, from what I've seen of him, he's mostly used for his shield. If you need a shield hero, then Maguire would be one to consider going for. If you already have another shield hero like Wim, then maybe Maguire's not the best for you. But again, take a look at your account and take into consideration what you need. Then you could possibly, if you want to pull for him, then go for it. If not, then you don't have to. Okay, so that is all of the heroes that are going to be involved in the Rate Up event coming this weekend. So let me know down in the comments, which hero are you guys pulling for specifically and why? You guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my content, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel so you can catch more of my videos as they come out. Thank you so much again, and I will catch you next time. Peace.